Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for December 18th, 2018. We're going to begin with the salute to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Brasky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Day?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here. Okay, thank you. Before the meeting, we had an executive session. Ms. Gallagher, can we have a summary, please?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The board did meet in executive session to discuss several items of personnel and potential litigation.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a couple of presentations this evening, which we're proud to have. The Citizens Police Academy is something our police department has done now for several years. It's was modeled off of a similar activity that happens in New Jersey, and it is quickly being copied by departments who are trying to do what we do and have done for a while. So it says a lot about imitations is a serious form of flattery. So tonight we have I see Lieutenant Whitney up front. I see Officer Yeager's here as well, and Corporal Wolverton. And so I don't know who's leading the charge here, but Officer Yeager.
How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
Good to see you guys. In case I forget, Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you.
So, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for having us first on the agenda. I'm here before you to recognize the Citizen Police Academy graduates. We've been doing this program for 6 years now. This is our 8th graduating class. I would like to give you an overview of this year's program, but I would also like to recognize and thank Chief Wilcox for his continued support with not only this program, but everything we do within the community policing unit. We started on September 26th with introductions. Lieutenant Whitney gave an overview of the Township and the Police Department. Officer Nick Felipe, who is one of our field training officers, talked about what is expected of him and rookies during their training. Class 2, Sergeant Chris Clark, talked about evidence and the importance of maintaining the integrity of a crime scene. We then set up a mock crime scene in which the Chief's Administrative Assistant, Gina Seiler, played the role of a dead victim. We split the group into 2 groups, and they went in to view the scene 3 different times. Class 3, we asked the groups to tell us what steps they would have taken to solve this crime. Sergeant Clark then showed the crime scene photos of the actual case and talked about the case in detail to our class. Class 4 had us at the Township Park. Corporal Langan and Officer Elmore. This was our K-9 evening. K-9 Monty got his picture taken with all, and some of the citizens did some tracking to find Corporal Langan, who was hiding at various places in the park. Class 5 was another road trip again. This was to Judge Veslowski's court. She is very helpful and enjoys talking with the citizens. She likes to do this when she is on call so these guys can see the arraignments. This year we got to see 2 arraignments. She also explains her job in detail, and I would like to thank her for the coffee and the treats that she has supplied. Class 6, we went to the police range down on the old mill property. There, Sergeant Ray Finelli, Corporal Langan, Officer Bruce Redunda, Officer Elmore, and K-9 Monty showed us the SWAT equipment. They saw the weapons that we use and watched some of the weapons fired, and some of the guys fire the weapons. They watched how to explode doors safely and saw a couple of flashbangs. At the end, they were shown how to do dynamic room entries, and then they were all given paintball guns to do these entries and go in and strike the targets that were in there. Class 7 was traffic stops. I had a former citizen come in, Doran Johnson, and along with Corporal Mike Wolverton, come in to be role players for the citizens when they made their traffic stops. While the traffic stops were happening, I was given instruction on DUI and field sobriety testing. Class 8 was an overview by Lieutenant Whitney. This was the Diane Corrado case from December 19, 2010. Class 9, I talked about Program Hero and how I bring speakers into the area high schools to talk about bad choices that they have made. This is done to try and impact students so that they don't make the same bad choices as others. I had 2 speakers come in that night and talk about their stories, Shakisa K. Ellis and Harry Holly. After they spoke, I talked about what else we have going on in community policing. Class 10, Lieutenant Whitney presented the Terry Lynn Brooks case, which occurred at Roy Rogers on Lincoln Highway in 1984. He talked about the entire case and how Alfred Scott Keefe actually confessed to both he and I when we conducted his interview 15 years to the day that he killed her. Class 11, we did police scenarios. Again, I had role players come in so that we could show our citizens, see how they would react under stressful situations. Thanks goes out to Doran Johnson, Kimberly Kozel, Gina Seiler, Tom Wygant, and Mike Samoji. Class 12, which was our last class, we call Shoot, Don't Shoot. We've made videos and the citizens watch, and they are given eye protection along with ear protection and a blank gun. They watch the videos and have to make a split-second decision whether to shoot or not. This, again, was a pleasure to do with such a nice group of people. Once again, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for your support of Chief Wilcox and these awesome programs that we have going in our community. We have taken pictures of this academy, as we always do, and if anyone would like to view these photos, you can check us out on Facebook at Falls Township Police Citizen Police Academy. Before I announce all the citizens, I just want to say one thing that I thought about, and I presented to the Senior Citizen Center. We had coffee with a cop there about 2 weeks ago. And while we were there, we do have two members of the Senior Citizen Center here with us tonight that I'll introduce shortly. But we tried to get a lot of seniors to come to this, but as you know, sometimes seniors don't like, they don't like to drive at night. And so what we're going to do is I'll meet there in January, and we're going to bring this program as best we can, modified of course, but to the senior center. So maybe once a month we'll go in, or once a week, depending on how schedules with the schools work out, to go in and make presentations so that we can make it more accessible to everyone. So that's one of the things we're going to work on for the spring this year. I would like to announce everybody that is here, and when I do announce your names, if you guys would please stand up. And so Nicholas Kramer, Jerome Ernay, Miriam Ernay, Joan Graves, Nancy Kazanjian. Thank you. We go by first names all the time. So, Jacqueline Leary, Robert Leary, Carolina, Denise Polster, Steve Putzte, and Mark Glickman. I believe that I believe Joan wanted to come up and speak for a moment, and then afterwards, if we could get a picture with the board that we can post on our page.
Sure, absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of my colleagues and myself, I would like to thank the Falls Township Police, specifically Officer Yeager, Lieutenant Whitney, Corporal Wolverton, and the numerous other members of the force, for the opportunity to observe and experience firsthand the challenges officers encounter on a daily basis. From the first few classes, where we were able to observe and react to a crime scene, to the final class, each encounter increased our awareness of how officers put themselves on the line each day performing their job. My personal favorites were when the class entertained the victim so much that she was lying there on the floor laughing while we were trying to observe the crime scene. And in that particular instance, we were trying to decide whether we should turn her over to see where her injury was. The night we were introduced to the field DUI procedures, we all laughed so hard, I don't think we could have walked a straight line if we wanted to do so. And finally, the shoot, don't shoot scenarios, where we were able to experience holding a firearm and being exposed to someone putting our lives in danger, albeit they were only scenarios. Thanks to the individuals who volunteered to help with the filming of the various scenes. Being made aware of the procedures that are mandated during the different aspects of policing was informative, which gave us a more in-depth awareness of the job requirements. Thank you again, and I would recommend this class to friends and family.
It's okay if we come up?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. Lots of chords. I want to thank everybody, all the residents. We've had a lot of graduations, as Officer Yeager said, over the past 6 years, and for all the people that have participated in this, who volunteer to come out because they're interested in seeing how police work operates and how our police officers do their jobs. I want to thank them for doing that, for being great citizens, and obviously thank our police department for everything they've done to organize this. There is one more sort of semi-attached presentation to this, which is only a couple people know about. Mr. Crow, could you come forward, please?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Board, for giving me this venue to present this award. This award I've been trying to present for quite a bit now for this year. I tried to do it at National Night Out, but it got rained out, so they gave me the venue today, which I thought would be a great venue, especially being other things that were going on today. Just to let you know, my name's Ed Crow. I'm the commander of Levittown Memorial American Legion, Post 960. But before I explain what what this award is and everything of that sort, come and explain how the American Legion's tying into it. The American Legion was founded in 1919 by patriotic soldiers. It's a veterans organization made up of volunteer veterans, family members, and social members dedicated to maintaining patriotism, helping veterans, and the community. Patriotic pride is the ideologic love and devotion for the homeland and the sense of alliance with its citizens. It means that you care about one's community, state, and country. Patriotism to me is very important, even more so at the local level, where we can help a positive impact directly to our community. Since I've been commander, we've been focusing on our resources to a local community and veterans, meaning we're not helping out nationally or state level. We're letting a national organization do that. Our focus is at our post to help local people, veterans, and our community. This award I'm presenting today is not an annual award. As a matter of fact, it's the first time this award has ever been presented by our post. This award is called Levittown Memorial American Legion Post 960 Officer of the Year. The officer that is receiving this award definitely shows patriotism. When it comes to community, there is not an individual I know more involved. For the last 33 years on the force, every day he goes to work to the betterment of our community. One of his colleagues described him as a man who would help any officer, and even his supervisors will go to him for his advice. This police officer is a true role model to other officers and the community. He is in charge of the DARE program, where he goes to the elementary schools, educating children of drugs, alcohol, and consequences by using them, which is more important than ever today. He heads the Citizen Police Academy. He has started the Falls Township Youth Police Academy for 4 years ago, which is running strong. He is also involved in Cops and Kids program and Community Town Watch. He takes part in the National Drug Takeback and also the Great Shredder events. He has also been responsible for the Falls Township police clothing donation bins, which you see throughout the township. He has given countless hours of his time for community service and for the betterment of our township by the programs he runs and assists in. I know there are a lot of things I probably forgot, but this is enough to show how patriotic and dedicated he is to making our community a better place. He is the true meaning of patriotism and love of community. I am proud to present and honor the award for Levittown Memorial American Legion's Post 960 2018 Officer of the Year to Officer John Yeager, Falls Township.
It's amazing a lot of people are here. Thank you very much for this. I appreciate it. I don't know what this is now. I'm very proud.
There is one up. Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. One other thing, too, is he is actually going to be getting nominated. Can't tell what's going to happen with that, but he's going to be getting nominated for the national level.
The citizens that came with us, come on back to the office. We have your diplomas to present you and some sandwiches for you. Thank you very much.
Maybe the same one. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so good way to start off the meeting. Certainly a very deserving officer. I've known Officer Yeager for a very long time. And I think Mr. Crow did an outstanding job with the award and everything he said. There's nothing I can say that really can top that. So I appreciate his efforts to do that. We've been trying to sort of work this out since I think August or July to try and figure out a time to do this, and it worked very well tonight. So thanks again, Mr. Crow, for that. Thank you. All right, next presentations of awards we have are the Fall Photo Contest. And Mr. Andrews is here, our Park and Rec Director.
And I'm joined by a guest, Shelley McIntyre from the Park and Rec Board. Is pleased to be here to help me present the awards for this year's photo contest. For a context, this is our 4th year doing this. Time sure does fly. We had over 200 photos to choose from. Park Board was very busy choosing winners in 5 categories: architecture, plants, the favorite other miscellaneous category, what was the other one? And wildlife. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to announce the winners, and we're going to bring them up here. They're going to get a certificate and a gift card, and we're going to come up and hopefully take a photo with you guys. So our first winner in the, which category? Which one you got there? Architecture category is Pamela Kennedy.
Thank you.
We'll have you stand up there. Okay. The winners in the plants categories: Linda Bogard, here's your certificate. Okay, the winner in the landscape category: Fred Balkus. And our winner in the other miscellaneous category, John Hernakowitz. And the winner in the wildlife category, Andrew Postay, could not be here. He received his award earlier today. He had a family commitment. So I'd like to thank everyone who participated and our winners, and let's get a photo.
Thank you very much for doing this. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Mr. Andrews, these photos will be on display as well?
We have to get them developed. They'll be posted in the lobby there. They are on our Facebook page and will be on our website for view too.
So we'll hang the photos in the building somewhere so people can see them when they come.
Yes. Okay. Have a great holiday.
Very much. Appreciate it. Thank you too. All right. Those are our presentations. As I said, good start to our meeting. Mr. Gray's getting our public comment. Our public comment period is 45 minutes. We ask 5-minute maximum per person, please. First name on the list, we have the resident sign-in sheet, Tony Batiste.
Hi. First off, I would like to know, will there be public comment on the budget?
Yes.
Okay. The proposed budget and any proposed ordinances, et cetera, that people are going to be voting on the agenda, they should be available on the website. Because right now, you have to go to the libraries, or you have to come here. Well, here isn't open after, what, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
I think it is on the website, isn't it? Yeah, our finance director is saying the budget is on the website.
The budget is, but
Yes.
is the proposed budget?
That's the budget.
The
That's the
existing budget and the proposed are on there. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I couldn't find it, first off. But I also couldn't find the ordinances that we're going to be voting on tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if
And
we-
it just seems to me that that's something that,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know,
we can add
it
that.
should
Sure,
be,
sure,
it
that's
should
fine.
be available.
Yeah, the agenda's usually posted. We can, and we do obviously
And
provide
for the
printed copies
ordinances,
there.
it would be nice to have them like highlighted for where the changes are as opposed to what the original is. Okay?
Yeah, depending on the ordinance, if it's a change, like some of the ones tonight, I don't know if we have enough bandwidth on our website to show the changes, but no, I mean, it's a fair point.
Well,
We can
I mean,
certainly
if,
look at
even
it.
if you
Yeah.
just make it a file and we can download it as a read-only file,
Yeah.
it would just be helpful. I mean, for people like me, I have the grandkids with me. I don't want to bring them there. And, you know, if you work late at night, it's nice to be able to do it at 11, 12 o'clock and not hurry to get to the library before it closes.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Linda Bogart? You'd signed up? Did you want to speak or no? No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. No, that's okay. That happens. Some people think it's a sign-in sheet. No, that's all right. Yeah. Donald, is it Markert?
Marker, that's right.
Marker?
That's correct.
Good evening. I want to thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak here today.
Sure.
My name's Don Markert. I've been a resident of Falls Township for 64 years. I live within about 4 miles of the former U.S. Steel facility and the Wheelabrator plant and Elcon, the proposed Elcon facility. I oppose the siting of Elcon's hazardous waste disposal facility in the township. And I'm going to give you a brief explanation of why and some of my experience growing up in Falls. So I urge you to oppose and reject the Elcon plant proposal. What's interesting is we already have a point source polluter in terms of the Wheelabrator site that dumps a bunch of stuff all over Bucks County and Burlington County. Nothing burns at 100%, nothing's clean, nothing's perfect. And I do have a basis for that determination based on experience. But I'll give you some information. The American Lung Association in April of 2018 ranked Bucks County as the second worst county in air quality in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm going to go a little Stephen Hawking on you and give you a short history of time here based on my own experience. When I was a kid, my father owned white vehicles predominantly, typically station wagons for our growing family, and we would wake up on mornings and find that the white car was no longer white. It was typically pink or red. And why was that? That was because the open hearth furnaces that operated at the Fairless Works about 3.5 miles from our house would be dumping iron oxide dust all over lower Bucks County. Fortunately, the prevailing winds normally kept that kind of pollution away from us, but when we got easterly winds, we got it. Burlington normally would get it, or Florence, or whatever counties over in New Jersey. So the other interesting thing, it wasn't an unusual event. It used to occur quite frequently when we got easterlies. The other thing I remember was that my mother used to complain about the laundry. She'd put the laundry out on a clothesline to dry after she spent hours cleaning, and then she'd have to pull it down and rewash it because it was not only orange in color, but it was typically sometimes black from the other precipitates we used to experience from the Fairless plant. And I'm going to give you a little program note here. I worked at U.S. Steel. All right, so just a little story there. What's the other interesting thing was, I remember, we've all been admonished about not eating yellow snow. I was admonished not to eat the red snow, or the pink snow, or the orange snow, because we knew that was an indicator that precipitates had fallen out with the snow onto the ground. don't eat it. We had pink and red snowmen sometimes. What's interesting is the red dust continued to fall periodically, even though the steel mill actually put in a set of electrostatic precipitators at the open hearth furnace to try to end that stuff, but we would still end up with periodic red snow or periodic red car or periodic dirty laundry. I can only imagine the other atmospheric pollutants that we, the residents of Falls Township, were exposed to from the totality of the atmospheric particulates generated and pollution generated by the Fairless Works. I worked there, and I'll tell you, it was a wonderful place. So when I looked at it, and I worked at the coke works and the open hearth and the blast furnace and the sinter plant and the docks and the rolling division and 4 and 5 stand, sheet and tin finishing maintenance. I worked all over the plant, and I got to experience the plant, and it was pretty filthy. I mean, I went into the open hearth one time, and a crane came down and lifted up a ladle, turned it upside down, and just bumped it on the ground to release some of the slag that was inside, and I couldn't see for the next 25 minutes. I had to stand still in this cloud of dust. That's the kind of stuff that was generated out of the facility. So the interesting thing is the only visible particulate fallout was the only telltale that we knew something had happened from the plant that was unusual, maybe not necessarily unusual, maybe the normal course of business, but that's the only indicator that there were some pollutants around us that day. Other interesting thing is a lot of people I knew had asthma and other lung issues that may or may not have been associated with that. The other interesting thing when I was a kid was I remember when the United States of America was performing atmospheric testing of nuclear and atomic weapons that we were told on many occasions, and they stopped that in 1961 or 62, we were told that we couldn't go out and play. I was 9 years old when they signed that test ban treaty. We couldn't go out to play. We couldn't drink milk. We couldn't eat certain vegetables because of the radioactive isotopes that were contained therein. Stuff does fall from the sky other than rain and snow and meteorites. So the test ban treaty was in 1963. Another interesting thing is after the Groves landfill was put in place for a few years, I think we had like a fairly significant delay period, but we used to get wafting of these nasty smells coming off of the Groves landfill when the wind moved this way. Not a very nice prospect when you're out there in the summertime trying to have a nice picnic.
Mr. Marker, the 5 minutes is up, so if you can just wrap up.
Yep.
I'll give you a few seconds to wrap up. What you want to
So I'll just go right here. Here you go. There's a whole series. I'll submit this by email. So I just ask you just to reject their proposal to site the facility here. We already have enough pollution. We already have poor air quality. So use some common sense here and decline any proposal to site that facility in Falls Township. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. John, I'm not, Hamilton? Is it Hamilton? Something like that?
Sorry, I'm just...
Oh, okay. All right. All right, so those are the names on the resident sign-in sheet. Do we have any other residents that wish to speak? Okay, go to the non-resident list. Sharon Furlong.
Hi, back again. Thank you so much for letting me speak, and happy holidays to you. I'm Sharon Furlong. I live in Feasterville, Trevose, Pennsylvania, and I speak to you as a spokesperson for Bucks Environmental Action and the Bucks County Sierra Club. The last meeting, I spoke about jobs, and since then there's been a new report. So I just would like to read this, and once again I do have a copy for each of you since there are all these figures in here that I have the dickens of a time remembering, so I'm certainly not going to ask anybody else to remember them. So I'm writing this second letter as an update to the comment that I made at the last supervisor's meeting last month. I spoke then about a report about jobs and revenue stemming from a clean and healthy Delaware River. The report I used focused on the years prior prior to 2016. However, since that comment, a new report was released that not only incorporated some of the figures and models of that older report, the one that I was using, but examined 2016 in a specific way. The new report is titled "The Power of Outdoor Recreation Spending in Pennsylvania," was released in November and was created by the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership at the request of Southwick Associates. So I thought you might like to hear some more figures, because in the last comment that I made, I apologize that I couldn't break out Pennsylvania for anything. We can only do the entire watershed area, which was between 198 and 220 miles. But this report, which was wonderfully timed, broke out Pennsylvania itself in the Delaware, in our part of the Delaware watershed. So I thought this was interesting. So in the year 2016, and this is just recreation, hunting and fishing created and supported over 390,000 jobs and businesses, and this is in Pennsylvania, outstripping jobs in the production of durable goods, which was at 356,000 jobs. So $17 billion in wages and salaries were paid out in the Pennsylvania area. Federal, state, and local tax revenue was close to $7 billion. The total output of wages, taxes, and the GDP, the gross domestic product, for Pennsylvania was over $28 billion into $46 billion. That's $46 billion. Hunters and anglers directly contributed over $33.5 million to fish and wildlife conservation and restoration programs, which of course means that the taxpayer didn't have to pay for that. And all of those restoration actions through excise taxes on equipment alone. More money was contributed from this set of groups through the licenses that each group needs to purchase each year. These figures do not include out-of-state resident figures. These figures only are for Pennsylvania residents. So in the Pennsylvania section of the watershed alone, more than 162,000 jobs and businesses are supported directly by and for a clean river, with more than $7 billion generated in wages and salaries, a little under $12 billion in GDP, and around $3 billion in total taxes. So the totals, including other water and land-based recreation activities such as biking or camping or off-roading or motorcycle pleasure riding, trail or water sports, those kinds of things, totaled more than $19 billion. So we have around 2 million residents in Pennsylvania who engage in hunting and fishing activities in our state. And that's just the residents. That's not the folks coming into town or into the state for these activities. And that includes on and around the Delaware River, which is the only free-flowing river east of the Mississippi. And that is the only one that is not dammed. There are over 14 million other people who partake in the non-hunting and fishing sports mentioned in the last paragraph in our glorious state. The total value of all recreation activities far outstrip that provided by even construction and construction-related activities, and that's a phenomenal thing, especially with the boom that is going on in Pennsylvania for construction development. It is therefore of the utmost importance that Falls Township takes the view that what happens in Falls can and shall affect the entire watershed area from Falls and down beyond, all the way to the heart of the Delaware Bay. All of life can and shall be affected by accidents, failed technology, and human pride and ego that refuses to admit it does not know what it thinks it knows. Elcon is a project that's never been tested, it's never been tried on such a scale, never sited in a place where millions are dependent on one company and its officers to know how to act no matter what happens and how to protect everyone else other than themselves or their own investors. It is up to you, our duly elected officials, to be the guard of the safety of all of us and to preserve an already stressed and used river from irreparable harm. You are not an investor or a shareholder of Elcon. You are our protectors. We are relying on you to take the long view of this project when it comes up before you, to keep in mind that what you do will have an impact of millions on millions of others, possibly for forever. Thank you. And if, with your permission, I will give you the copies. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Morgado? No? Adrian Morgado? Oh.
Hello, Adrian Tafani Morgado. I live in Wrightstown, but I did grow up in Falls Township. Unlike Mr. Markert there, who shared how many years ago that was, but go Falcons. And my father also worked for the road department here many, many years ago, and actually started, if memory serves right, the labor contract, started a labor union for the road crew. So, can't feel anything behind me. So thank you for allowing me to speak. 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, in Wrightstown, they wanted to talk about putting fracking well in there, and I didn't know what fracking was. So, you know, you become very active and motivated to find out what it is they wanted to do. And once you learn that it's all about the drilling and all the things that go with it, from compressor stations and noise 24 hours and truck traffic and on, we thought, well, my goodness, who would want it? Why would you want that in your backyard? From that, it led me to understand other causes, and I believe that's how activism gets started. You know, it maybe starts very personally for you, and then you just branch out. So from there, I've been very involved with understanding the situation with the Delaware River and fracking the Delaware River. For the life of me, I don't understand why people don't get that water is life, and once you don't have it anymore, you're done. You get it. What are the people in Dimmock in Western Pennsylvania? They have it trucked in. I couldn't live that way. What was it, 4 days with Lower Makefield and Yardley? They had, their tankers were set up for a while there too. It's a horrible way to have to live for a long time, just let alone 4 days. So my concern with this company coming in, who frankly doesn't have a great track record anywhere, and they've kept them out of a couple places in Europe from what I've been reading. Getting back to the fracking in the Delaware, if we're going to have this ban lifted, because now there's been a moratorium, so they haven't been able to do any fracking in there. These corporations, they come in now and they say, well, if we can't frack it, how about we just take billions of gallons of water per day for our fracking wells, and then maybe just build a couple of frack wastewater holding sites along the basin? Who would do that? I mean, can anybody ever answer that question? Why would we take that kind of a risk? The indigenous people, the natives, knew you had to live in harmony with nature or you were finished. So they always thought of 7 generations ahead and 7 generations before. I'm here for my grandchildren. You can't leave this place in worse shape than where we found it. So I'm kind of asking you to consider, what would we do if our Delaware River has some kind of an accident, and then they're talking about fracking and wastewater holding tanks over here. And we have the PFOAs and the PFOs in the Warmans. Bucks County is crazy with the water issues right now. All of us are the activist people. We have folders. We can give you any information that you need, any questions that you might have on certain situations from air and water. We belong to the organizations that can furnish that for you to support your stance of course, protecting the Delaware. So somebody needs to answer why we would put our water for 17 million people at risk by adding another situation that is what do you guys tell me, half a mile of the Biles Creek? One little spill in the tributary and it goes. So, Mr. Harvey, remember we spent the day together on for the election? You and I at the fall.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Your candidate won, mine didn't. So, all right, maybe we could be on this winning team together, though. But I thank you for your time and your service.
All right,
Protect the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Baxter.
Hi, Lisa Baxter, 208 Arberley Avenue. I just have a question. I've been to your Environmental Advisory Council meeting, and at that meeting, they mentioned ELCON briefly, but I didn't get the impression that there's been any in-depth study of the application. I was wondering if they were planning to do that. And I was also wondering if they don't have the expertise required, if they will go outside and ask others for advice.
Yeah,
or
they
if
have
they're
the
just not.
expertise.
I'm sorry?
They have the expertise.
Okay.
One of the gentlemen's a retired chemist. One of the gentlemen is a civil engineer. One of the women is a master gardener who's involved in a lot of things around the county. Another gentleman also works, I forget his job, he also works, they have good backgrounds, a very, very good board. They've really been focused on ELCON pretty much as long as you have. I mean, they were at the meetings at the Sheraton, they were at the meetings in various places. They've, the one gentleman who's an engineer, essentially every meeting he explains everything that he's found on the DEP website because he checks it almost daily. And when things were not as active with ELCON, he was checking it.
Okay,
weekly, bi-weekly,
There's
monthly.
there's one comment that made me think that they were not looking at it in depth. Was something about had to do with the part of the application that is proprietary, and saying that basically they couldn't see anything of the process because it was proprietary. It was only a little piece of the process that's proprietary. Most of it is actually in the application.
Right.
So that's why I was thinking that they
they're-
hadn't looked. I thought they hadn't looked at it in detail yet.
It's a good group.
Okay, I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks. Claire Finkel?
Hi, actually, she kind of did what I wanted to know. I really wanted to kind of yield my time to you guys to talk what you think, because we're just talking here, and there's, what is it? It just seems like nothing. Can you tell us what you think is going to happen?
No.
You can't tell us that.
No, we can't. We don't have anything in front of us. ELCON has not submitted any plans to us. We have nothing to review, nothing to give to our EAC, nothing to give to our Planning Commission, nothing to give to our Fire Marshal, nothing to give to our engineers or attorneys. They haven't filed anything with us. Now, they could at some point. I would expect that they will at some point. Until that time, it would be... It wouldn't be proper for us to exercise any judgment on something we have not seen yet in terms of details.
So you think then there's a reasonable chance that they're going to come up with a proposal that's going to satisfy all these people that are saying? I mean, it's like that they're not going to pollute the river.
No, I didn't say that.
For the next 100 years. I mean, but the thing is that this kind of stuff is. It seems like there's obvious stuff in the forefront. Now, I know they didn't make a formal request.
Right.
But there's danger to the river. Like these people are saying. I don't want to repeat what people are saying.
Yeah.
So to me, I would think that you would have a concern about that.
I didn't say. Well, yeah. Nothing. It was not saying anything about concerns or no concerns. I'm saying that
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not saying anything about who's got concerns and who doesn't have concerns. I'm saying that we don't have anything to evaluate right now because we don't have anything submitted to us.
See, I'm just afraid that what's going to happen is that all of a sudden one day we're going to hear that it was approved, and now we can't do anything.
We're talking. You trust me. You're going to hear a tremendous amount of information once. If they get through DEP, if they present something to us, as you have heard. There's multiple meetings that would have to happen for anything. They would have to go to our Planning Commission. They would have to go to our Environmental Advisory Council. They'd have to be reviewed by our solicitor. They'd have to be reviewed by the engineer. They'd have to go probably a second time to the Planning Commission. They'd have to come to us first and then go back to the Planning Commission possibly. And they're talking about a couple of months of meetings
Before they got here.
before they get here. It's not a short process.
Okay.
That's
Can
putting
you
aside
tell me?
anything with DEP.
Can you tell me then, like, in what can we people do in the meantime? What can we do to help?
I think in general, what you're doing is what you've been doing
Just come here and
in terms of being
let it be known.
Yeah, in terms of being on top of the issues and following very closely and keeping on, people to make sure they're voting the way you think they should vote, and that goes for people that we haven't really had anybody come in favor of it, but if there's somebody in favor of it, obviously they can speak too. It's a free country. So it's, I think, you're kind of doing what, the things you should be doing as concerned citizens.
Okay,
This
thank you.
board knows where the majority of people stand.
What'd you say?
I said, this board knows where the majority of people stand. Plenty of people come with your same position. No one has ever come here raising their hand saying, I'm pro-Elcon, I want you to build this thing. Just so we're clear on that. Now, Ms. Gallagher, she'll comment on legally why we all stand up here and say we have no comment.
As Mr. Harvey summarized very eloquently, there is no application in front of the township right now. It would be premature and ill-advised for the board to take any position on an application that's just not in front of it. This board, if an application is submitted, will be charged with reviewing that and making a decision on that application. But there is no application for the board to comment on at this time. If and when there is, Mr. Harvey did describe the
This is
process that we
legalities,
follow.
legalities, right, I guess.
I'm sorry?
Legalities, legal.
Correct.
Okay, listen, thank you actually, that helped me.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. I'm glad. Thank you. Steve C.K.?
Again, thank you for letting us talk, and it was just wonderful hearing what you had to say. And basically, I'm here again just to kind of repeat one of the things that these concerned activists have said. Since the last time I was here, I turned 64, and I realized I was forgetful because the last time I had stuff on the other side of the page. So that's why I'm back to finish up what I had to say. And since it's the holiday season, I'm going to be less cranky. I apologize if last time I was cranky. But activists get cranky because they have a vision of the way they think things should be, and they're usually not thinking about themselves. Well, these people, some of them said they had grandchildren, so they're thinking about their grandchildren. My daughter's down from Boston, and there's still no grandchildren. So hopefully next year. But that's what we're concerned about, the next 7 generations, our grandkids, and we want to leave a good world to them. And as I'm getting older, you get a little embarrassed because, well, I'll tell you about that when I read my little poem afterwards. And I'm simple. It's just I don't know as much as these other people with the technical stuff. But sometimes when you got tough jobs, you got all these laws you got to follow, and you get focused on the weeds. Boy, she showed me this storm drain stuff that you're going to talk about later, and I'm going home to my daughter because I can't go through that stuff. It's so technical, so simple. And this is where everybody comes together, because we're human beings. We need clean air, we need clean water, we need clean land. And it's difficult to do that in an advanced technological society. But sometimes if in the back of your mind, you just realize, and you think about your grandkid, I'm thinking about the one I might have, they need clean land, they need clean water, and clean air. So as you make these decisions, and sometimes you get buried in the details, if you can just remember that that's something we all come together about. That we want to live good lives. We don't want pink snowmen. we want nice, clean snow. But I asked. He's 64 years old, Don. Well, I guess I'm 64 now, and realize I'm an old hippie. And that's why I'm wearing my Earth Day shirt. And there was a poem I wanted to read. Actually, it's a song by Neil Young. And the thing that I hope you remember is that, we really do care. And in the 60s, we were really worried about the environment. We had Love Canal. We had the Lake Erie on fire. We had the ozone level. And Neil wrote this song after the gold rush, and he said, "Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s," and that was a call to make the world better. So like I said before, I kind of feel guilty about what I'm giving to my kids, and that's why I'm here tonight, and that's why I try to fight for a better environment, because we haven't done a good job. We need to do better. And if you read the report that the federal government gave out the day after Thanksgiving, it was a scary report. And again, Neil kind of nailed it, because if we don't do what we're going to do to get clean air, clean land, and clean water, we're not going to have a planet to live on. And Mars is too cold. No, and Venus is too hot. And Neil said at the end of the song, I dreamed I saw the silver spaceships flying in the yellow haze of the sun. There were children crying and colors flying all around the chosen ones, all in a dream, all in a dream. The loading had begun. They were flying Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home in the sun. And there was such a bittersweet sadness to that, because the realization was that we screwed up the earth, and only a few people would have this long shot chance of going somewhere else to live, because we ruined our paradise here. And if I have a grandchild, I want them to live on this planet. And so just think about that. And I think your hearts are good. But as you make these technical, complex decisions and get, attacked by corporate interests who care more about the bottom line, think about the simple things: clean air, clean land, clean water, and the smile of your grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, those are all the names on the public comment sign-in sheet. We're going to move on with our agenda. Item number 2 is consider adopting the 2019 budget and resolution establishing the millage rate for 2019. Mr. Gray is here, along with Mrs. Rukoff, our Finance Director. Mr. Gray?
Yes, at the November Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved authorization to advertise for the proposed 2019 budget. It has been advertised and displayed at the local libraries and on the township's website. At this time, the board is asked to consider adopting the 2019 budget and the associating resolution as well.
Okay. And the resolution would be 18-28.
28.
So it would be 2 motions, one for the budget and one for the resolution. Board comment or questions first, either from Mr. Gray or Mrs. Rukoff?
No comment.
No comment.
None.
I have none. Thank you.
Is there any public comment? I know Ms. Batiste was interested in speaking. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
I apologize for not having a copy of the budget, which I could have had the pages listed. I was supposed to be at a birthday party tonight because my 6-year-old grandson turned 6, but he's sick, so party canceled.
Hopefully
and
it's better.
I get to be here. Okay. On the budget, there is 0 revenue amount budgeted for overweight vehicles. And I was wondering why. Is it the fact that we don't have overweight vehicles anymore? It's, I'm just kind of going in the order the pages were. But I was just wondering, because it seems to me, with all the garbage trucks, and they're tearing up our roads, that it would...
Mrs. Rukoff or Mr. Gray?
Yes, these are for permits that the township charges for overweight vehicles using the township roads. There's designated routes that they're allowed to use. We did not budget also in 2018. We didn't anticipate any revenue associated with those permits, and we did receive $1,000.
I didn't realize they were for permits. I thought they were just checking on the trucks, and that seems to be a very big revenue source. But anyhow, we do have waste management there. It is supplying the township with quite a bit of funds, but that's not going to last forever unless it sinks through the hole into China or magically disappears, but I don't think so. So it seems to me we have to be a little careful with how much we're spending and what we're spending it on without raising taxes. Their interest revenue seems to be a little low. What percentage are we getting on the interest on our accounts?
Very little.
It varies.
Very little, probably.
But yeah, no, we don't get very much. It's, interest rates being low, and obviously they were low for a long time through the 2000s. That affects us like it affects anybody that's sort of fixed income. Even though interest rates have gone up slightly over the past couple of years through the Fed, it's still, it's not making a whole
We're
lot of
legally
money.
restricted where we can invest our
That
money
was
as
gonna be
well.
my next
Right, yeah,
question.
that's
Yeah.
obviously part of it too.
That's the
Okay.
big part of it.
Okay. There's a reduction in recycling funds, and I was wondering why that is. Or is it because Waste Management is dumping the recyclables into the garbage?
No, if anything, it would be, we'd often lose out on money because of residents who aren't recycling. We have, if residents aren't recycling, we actually do get money back from the amount of recycling that happens. We try to advertise that and let people know that there's a great, for example, with Christmas, obviously, there's a huge variety of things that could be recycled that people just don't realize. Cardboard boxes can be recycled. Every Amazon box can be recycled. Cereal boxes can be recycled.
Just about everything can be recycled.
Yeah, I mean, even the little rollers for toilet paper and paper towels, that all can be
Milk
recycled.
cartons.
Milk cartons can be recycled.
Yeah, but I was just curious why it's reducing.
Well, it could just be because people aren't. That's
And-
a possible answer, but there could
And
be others.
it does seem to me, because I do know that sometimes Waste Management, if they don't have enough people to send around on the recyclables, they kind of tend to just dump it in the other ones.
Ms. Rukoff?
The dollar amount that we receive for recycling is grant money that we get, and it can vary from year to year. Some years we get more per pound, essentially, and other years less. Tend to budget conservatively and budget lower rather than budgeting a revenue that we may not see. So because it's grant money and we get it from another source, we have to be conservative
Okay,
as to what we think we may receive.
all right. Does the township pay for life and disability insurance for all the employees?
Yes.
Except, I mean, we don't count, but well, no, actually.
I mean, I
we're-
can understand the
do actually,
fire
there's
and
something on
the
us.
police,
Right.
but why are we paying for everybody else? I mean,
Well,
I
Public
know in
Works-
private jobs, we don't get our life insurance paid for.
Public Works employees obviously could be injured on the job. Road crews and people fixing street lights and traffic lights could be injured obviously very easily. And other staff members here. I mean, there's always the potential of injury. Code enforcement inspectors, fire inspectors.
But that's covered under workman's comp, right?
Well, that's different, but I'll let.
Because the life and disability insurance is a different thing, I think, isn't it?
These are union contracts, so these are negotiated, they're bargained. The bargaining table, we've had these for years.
Okay.
And it's a benefit that the employees enjoy.
Okay. There's an additional 31,000 this year increase for the bookkeepers. We have 3 of them. I was wondering why so much this year.
You'll see that there's no longer a line item, the next line down that says clerk, and it's because one of our clerks was promoted to the position of bookkeeper.
Okay. There's 4,300 for longevity. I didn't get that one. I don't.
That's another negotiated item.
And the
It's part of the
contracts based-
contract.
Yeah, in contracts based on length of time here in the township, there's longevity pay.
Okay.
Paid to certain employees.
Okay. In a lot of places, the travel has gone to $1,500 or more, and in a lot of those instances, it's more than twice the amount that it was last year. And I was wondering why the increase in travel expenses, like for the auditor or the tax collectors. The finance people and the tax collectors. I don't quite know why they're getting travel.
It's travel for seminars, essentially, and training. And the reason you might see it higher in the budget, again, just like with the revenues where we tend to budget conservatively, we try to budget enough so should another seminar arise that would be beneficial for the staff to attend, that the money has been allotted so that they can go. They don't necessarily have to use all that, and normally they do not. They normally attend the same seminars.
Can they do online training? As
Some
opposed
things
to
could be done
live?
online, but other things are not available that way.
And it doesn't,
Okay.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't seem unreasonable that we offer training to our employees.
No, I didn't say that it was unreasonable. I was just questioning the travel expenses. And the township, why the township doesn't press for an audit for the tax collector? The county doesn't and the township doesn't, and yet that seems to me like it's a lot of funds. How do we know we're getting the right amount of money?
If you want to take a shot at that, go ahead.
Sure. The tax collector does have to balance out with the county and the township and the school district every year to the penny. And they are audited, aside from that, within our audit, our auditors look through what the tax bills were that went out, what has come in. They go through each of those receipts. They see what comes in from our tax collector, what comes in from the, is it the Board of Assessment?
Board of Assessment.
Board of Assessment for
That
the
wasn't the
delinquent
information I
things.
got originally, so thank you. Glad to hear that one. Why is the township paying for dues and memberships in various categories? And I'm thinking it's like professional dues is.
Yes. There's different organizations that different people belong to that, you know, like some of the seminars and things of that nature, so that there are dues to those.
But
And that-
again, is that a contractual thing, or we just don't to spend some money?
Some might be, but some aren't, I think.
Some are, some aren't.
Part of the
Ms.
job.
Rukarf and I belong to the GFOA of Pennsylvania.
Okay, because they, again, they're increases, and I'm looking at, do we need to have all the increases? That's all.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions regarding the budget? Okay.
Supervisors and Mr. Gray. I'm Jody Pendle. I'm the president of the board of Fawsington Library, and I just wanted to ask if the added funding for the library was included in this year's budget.
Yep, it's in the, comes out of host community fees.
Great, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your support of the library.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any final comments, concerns, questions?
No.
No.
No? I would thank, I think they're very good questions. Appreciate Ms. Batiste asking them and her efforts to be diligent with us. That's fine. There's no problem with that, and we expect that, you know. But I want to thank our staff here, especially Mrs. Rukoff and our finance staff for all the work they put into this. All our department heads put in their budgets. They do a lot of work. Mr. Gray gets involved. We get involved. So it's a long process. It starts usually like in August or so and kind of goes all the way through to tonight. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt. And again, remember two different things here. Adopt the 2019 budget.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
Opposed?
no, I said no. I'm
Oh,
asking for
I'm
the
sorry.
opposed. No, sorry, sorry. And finally, to approve Resolution 18-28, which is establishing the millage rate for 2019.
I'll make that motion as well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay.
Sorry.
Won't do
I
that
didn't-
again. No, you're right. Afterwards, I said it did sound like I said that. Okay. All right. Item 3: consider awarding workers' compensation contract for the year 2019. I think we're going to Mrs. Rukoff again for this.
Mr. Gray's losing his voice.
Yeah, he's got it. Well, he's
Is
in.
that what he's going with? He's going to tell you
Yeah.
he's losing his voice?
That's what he's going.
injured. He's injured.
His appetite's okay, though.
The township requested and received a quote for workers' compensation insurance from Vaughn Insurance for the year 2019. A quote of $448,424 is from Delaware Valley Workers' Compensation Trust and the State Workmen's Insurance Fund. The State Workers' Insurance Fund is used for our volunteer fire coverage. And the township has had Divot as its work comp carrier since 2003. Our neighboring municipalities, Bristol Township's 2018 premium was $545,000, and Falls Township $473,000. The renewal premium is $25,428 less than last year's contribution, based on a decreased loss prevention decrease. So at this time, the board's asked to consider Divot and SWIFT for Falls Township's 2019 workers' compensation insurance coverage in the amount of $448,424.
Comments or questions from Mrs. Rukoff?
No.
No.
Okay. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, yeah, noticing we have what we've paid back to 2014 on here, and this is actually the lowest price since 2014. So it went up for a little bit, now it's coming back down, which is obviously good news. So if there's no comments or questions, is there a motion to award the workers' compensation quotes to Divot and SWIFT in the amount of $448,424?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Brasky?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Okay, item 4, consider adopting ordinance amending Chapter 209 zoning. Ms. Gallagher?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. As the board is aware, over the past few years, we have been working with Mr. Bennett, who's the Township Zoning and Code Enforcement Officer, as well as Mr. Jones, one of the Township engineers, to do a revision to the zoning ordinance. This is a comprehensive revision. What we did was clean up a lot of inconsistencies in the code. Oftentimes, what happens over the years is a use is removed from one district and it affects other districts that maybe was not the intent. The definitions become inconsistent between the zoning code and the SALDO. The board will remember that at the last meeting, it adopted an ordinance which revised the subdivision and land development ordinance. This is the complement to that ordinance and will make all of these codes consistent. One of the other things that's in this particular update, the wireless telecommunications code was updated to reflect the county model ordinances and to bring the township's code into more technological advancement and consistent with the current state of technology. The right-of-way ordinances were modified at the last meeting as well, and again, this revision will be the complement to that ordinance. There are a number of specific changes that were made. Mr. Bennett and Mr. Jones are both here to answer specific questions about that, but this really is a comprehensive revision. We did provide memorandums that outlined a lot and highlighted a lot of the major changes that were made, and we're happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Ms. Gallagher?
None.
No.
No.
Okay. Mr. Bennett, just to, if you don't mind, just going for a little bit here. Just for you, this change in this ordinance, how's this going to make your life easier, maybe, or maybe it makes it harder?
Well, as Ms. Gallagher said, as times change, you have to change with it. And the book was just left the same way, and then times have changed, things change, and so now we've updated everything. It just makes it more specific, so it makes it easier to make specific decisions.
One of the examples that we kept going back to is in one of the districts, a grocery store was permitted, but a supermarket was specifically prohibited. And neither of them were defined, and so Mr. Bennett was left saying, well, I don't know what that means. So it cleans up inconsistencies like that.
Yeah, or just something like a definition of a large chain store. There's no definition for it, but it's in the book. So when does it become large?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So these are the kind of things that we fixed up.
And one of the issues I know, obviously, we dealt with over the last few years was the difference between a service station and a gas station.
Yes.
And that was obviously a problem with the Wawa that's being built now, with the old Pathmark site was.
Yes, and that was changed and modified and cleaned up in this revision.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Bennett?
No. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you. Is there a public comment? So you want to hand the back? Okay. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Either one of you is fine. We just ask you to come on up and identify yourself. You have to come to the microphone.
microphone.
You have to come up to the microphone, sir. We can't hear you. Just ask you, just give your name and address when you get up to the microphone. Doesn't matter. Either one's fine.
I'm George Kelly. I live on Amelia Drive, right behind Costello's Fuels. and we had a notice on our front yard that the zoning was going to be changed. And myself, my neighbor Mary back here, and a couple of other residents, we want to know why and what is going to happen to Amelia Drive and why that was changed, and we're hoping it's going to be changed for the better.
Mhm.
Can anybody answer?
Tom's
Mr.
coming.
Bennett's going to come up and talk. He's our zoning officer.
How you doing?
Good.
Costello Fuel consists of 3 parcels, and they were zoned business professional. Okay, under business professional, Costello Fuel don't fit, but they got a zoning variance. Reni's Pizza didn't fit. Nothing ever fit there that was there. So we thought it was best to change that to neighborhood commercial, which is businesses that are beneficial to the immediate neighborhood and things of that nature. So just so it's not, business professional is just an office, would be the only thing that was allowed there. So now it's just getting changed to this neighborhood commercial, so it can be a pizza place or a deli, or, things of that nature. So it's not going to affect any of the neighborhood at all, any of the neighbors.
It's just that one parcel.
And
so it's not your home. It's just that you got notified because a parcel near you was being changed.
Within a quarter mile.
And there's actually 3 little parcels that are Costello. So
you have-
probably was on the corner of the back part of a parcel close to your property, but it's not your property being rezoned.
Yeah, gentlemen, just make sure you're close enough to the microphone so you can get picked up. That's all. That's all.
Problem I have is that Costello's not a problem, JoJo's Ice Cream is not a problem. There was an apartment, that's not a problem. Then behind that, there was Nationwide Exterminating. Now, that's now empty. What's going to be allowed to go in there now with this change? We don't want another business, really.
Okay, well, I'll be honest. If another business wants to go in there, the same exact business, within 12 consecutive months, it could go back in there. But if that building is vacant and that business is vacated for 12 consecutive months, it goes back to what it was zoned, which I believe was residential. So whatever that was zoned before, that's what it'll go back to be. And they would have to go to the zoning hearing board for variance if they want to put something in there that's not permitted at that time.
And
that zoning's not changing.
And you would be
know that.
notified.
That zoning's not changing of that property.
That's not changing.
Just Costello.
Just Costello. Costello is the only thing on that corner changing.
Okay.
The business professional district was kind of sporadically throughout the township, and it just really wasn't a district that got much use. And really, most of those parcels were used more consistently with the neighborhood commercial, which is why they're being changed that way.
Well, it's not
But it
really
was-
going to affect Costello, is it?
No.
it's
Costello's
not
fine the
mainstream.
way it is.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he did a good job cleaning that up.
Yeah, he did. He did a real nice
Yeah.
job. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Sir, you have questions still? Yeah, come on.
My name's Dan Vosbine. I own the property at 39 Williamson. And I'd like to know how this is going to change, what this is going to change for me.
Mr. Bennett can.
Where are you located, sir?
39 Williamson.
Is that,
Falls.
Small street.
are you one of the parcels that was NCR VPB? Was your property posted?
Yeah.
So are you the antique shop?
I used the building for storage, yeah.
Okay. It's really not going to affect you. Before it was called NCR VPB, Neighborhood Conservation Residential Business Professional, Preservation Business Professional. So now they're just changing it all to NCR, but all your parcel numbers are listed under Village Preservation Business, so it's really not going to change anything you can do at all. That was another thing that got misconception. I got a lot of people wanting to put in big businesses in that area where it's not permitted. So we just kind of took that zoning district and made it all in NCR and put that in there, but it's not going to affect your business at all.
What's it going to do to my property value?
Nothing at all. It's actually keeping it just about the same as it ever was.
It's sort of matching. It's really kind of the district you're now going to be really matches what you are right now. you know, what you were doing there before really didn't match what it was zoned for. And it didn't make any sense, as Mr. Bennett said, to have some big business think they can come in and set up there. No, we don't want that. You know? So, yeah.
Well, a lot of people think they can just put any business they want there.
Yeah,
and that's,
I knew I was a good fit, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yep, come on. Sure, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Megan Wachter. We live at 313 Woolston. We live next to the Medical Plaza.
okay, the Medical Plaza was zoned business professional before, BP. Now it's going to be zoned NC.
And we're NC.
So it's neighborhood commercial. So it's really, it's not going to change anything, nothing's going to...
Now, the property is for sale, so what?
The property, the...
Medical Plaza.
Medical Plaza is for sale?
It's been for sale for years, but I mean...
Oh, okay. They could
Could a
put
gas
in...
station move in there? What are we
A
looking at?
gas station would have to go through a whole lot to get in there. It could be a strip center, it could be the same type of business, a commercial business, but a very light commercial business.
Okay, now are we talking just the Medical Plaza? Because we also have that private paper road between our property and the Medical Plaza?
It would just be their parcel.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, Amy Ransley, 290 Yardley Avenue, zoned Village Preservation Business. I heard your answers to the man on Williamson that's also zoned Village Preservation Business. You're stating to us that it's not really changing anything. Our property is still going to be zoned Village Preservation Business, but instead of being under HD, will now be under NCR. Is that correct?
No, your property was never HD.
No,
It was under NCR VPB. So it's,
Where does it show that it's NCR VPB? Like, where would we have seen that?
on
Like,
the
if,
zoning map.
when I go onto the zoning and I pulled this off of the zoning from the
Right,
township,
right.
it's listed HD, Village Preservation Business. Nowhere under Village Preservation Business does it state that we're NCR.
Under HD, they fall under the rules of NCR. It's in the book. And on the map, it shows you where, and this is exactly why,
Right, this is
why we're
why-
changing this and making a difference, because it confuses people because they mix two together. So now we're gonna put it all under NCR, which is what you always went under before, was NCR, all the setbacks and building heights and all that was under NCR. And so it was just, the only thing was with historical district is you must get approval of the board to do exterior improvements to your house.
Property. So what you're saying is that nothing is actually changing, we're just moving our VPB to NCR, and all the requirements that we have at this time are still going to be the same requirements once you move us.
Very similar.
What's the difference? What's similar that we're gaining or losing by changing it from NCR?
You're not really losing anything. We just cleaned up some of the language so that it's more specifically written, so to keep people from getting the wrong impression that they could do things that they weren't really allowed to do. There were 9 parcels that were...
8.
There were 9.
There were. Okay, the park had 3.
There was one that didn't even exist anymore that was in the old zoning book, so we took that out and made that 8. All we really did was clean up the language and put this is NCR, and put them parcels into here under this D section, Village Preservation Business.
So the paperwork that you're looking at here, is this the new wordage?
This is the new.
So will we be able to see what this is actually saying?
Sure.
Prior to them making their decision of...
Well, no, you could. Well,
you know, because I don't believe did I have access to see what the new wordage was? Like, I didn't...
Yeah, you
because
could
I just pulled the stuff up on the...
You could have came to the township anytime, and it was always available, or at the library, and...
And Mr. Bennett, just one point of clarification. If a property is in the historic district, they continue to have to comply with the historic district regulations as far as coming to the board to modify the exterior of the property, right?
Yes, and the NCR, see, part of Fallsington is NCR and part is historical. So, and that was part of the confusion, that people thought they were historic, they're all historical district, and they're not all historical, some are NCR. So this better clarifies where they are.
So if we ever go to sell our property, though, they would just have to, if someone wants to still have a business there, they would automatically be able to have a business, or they're going to still have to come in front of the zoning and have it approved?
Depends what type of business. The type of businesses are listed. Like a small flower shop or a
Right.
small gift shop is
Right, it has to,
it's
right,
specifically
exactly what it
written in
says
there.
in here, what it
And
can
it's,
be.
and it still says it in here. So it's, none of that has changed.
Okay, I was just concerned because when I read this before, again, I wasn't seeing that we were considered NCR. If you're telling me that that's what it is, you know,
Yes.
for the record or whatever, you're telling me that's what it is, so really you're not changing anything.
You're not
So
in
if I go back,
historical district.
you know, and see that it's something different later, that, you know, that it's not really changing anything. You said it's changing some things,
not.
but not really, but.
If you went word for word, you would find a word missing here or there or something like that. You know, it just says it shall be a specialized center with stores dealing with such items as
Right.
handicraft, art, flowers, household goods, boutiques, and antiques.
Mhm.
And that's the same word for word in here.
Right,
So it's,
exactly.
nothing's changed.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure. I don't want to be
I wish you
like
would have come up today.
earlier.
Yeah, it would have made it easy.
Well, I did talk to the lawyer before, and, you know, I kind of understand, but I just want to be sure that you're telling me the truth, you know, or you're telling me that we were NCR and we still are staying NCR.
Yes.
Because before, I didn't feel that we were NCR by reading the township,
And that's exactly what we did, was move stuff around and make it clear.
so, okay. I just don't want to find out later that we really weren't NCR and you're telling me we are, and you put us there. Okay.
Show you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, any other public comment, questions? Okay, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved. Second.
You get that, Mrs. Bull?
Either one's fine.
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff did it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, I want to thank, I mean, obviously very good questions. We completely understand for people that, you know, it is your properties and you're concerned about, like, you know, what's happening, and completely understand that you want to make sure that you're not having anything taken away from you in terms of what you're able to do. Mr. Bennett, working, you know, with Ms. Gallagher, really kind of took a look at what the properties were at the time, and if they really didn't fit the zone, the district they were in. You know, it didn't make sense to sort of keep them in a district that didn't really fit them, and let's make them something as to what they are. You know, and that's kind of what the effort was. And so I appreciate Mr. Bennett doing all the explanation on that for everybody. So, all right, this time, if there are no more questions or comments regarding the ordinance, this would be number 18-10. 18-10. If there are no more questions, is there a motion to approve ordinance 18-10?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, consider adopting ordinance amending Chapter 187 Stormwater Management. Ms. Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. This is a companion ordinance to the other series of ordinances that the board has considered at the last meeting and this meeting. This is essentially a cleanup ordinance to the stormwater management provisions in the Township Code. Some of these provisions were found in the prior subdivision and land development, and they've now all been consolidated within the stormwater management section, so that when a developer comes in and they want to know what they need to do for stormwater management, it's all in one place, and it's all consistent with all the other codes. So this is another cleanup ordinance, and Mr. Jones is here to answer any specific questions about the technicalities in the ordinance.
Okay. Comments or questions from Mr. Jones?
No questions.
Okay. All right, so any public comment? It's in your hands. This is resolution 18-11.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion then to approve resolution 18-11, amending chapter 187 stormwater management?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. Consider adopting ordinance amending chapter 188 street sidewalks at article 3. Ms. Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. This ordinance is not a companion to the other ordinances. This is a standalone ordinance. This ordinance is commonly referred to as a curb-to-curb ordinance, and what this will do is, under certain circumstances that are listed in the ordinance, when a developer or a utility comes into the township and needs to excavate a portion of the street, rather than repairing just the small section that they are working on, they would be required to repair the entire curb to curb of that section of the street, so that way the pavement is even and is less likely to fall into disrepair.
Comments or questions?
That makes sense. Very clear.
Yeah, no, I think we've all sort of, seen repair work done on streets where they sort of dig up one area to put in, a sewer line or water line or make some kind of a change or a repair, and then they just sort of patch it, and it ends up being lumpy, and you end up getting, obviously, eventually it weakens the whole road structure, so we have to end up going back doing it anyway. So this would require people that have to do that, if they're doing a big enough of a job of putting something in the ground, that they have to patch the entire road. It's not just running a strip down the middle where they dug something up. And that's the intent here, is to go curb to curb to make sure that the township doesn't have to go back later on to fix something that some other utility or somebody else did when they were doing work. This makes them have to do it so that taxpayers don't have to do it later on. So, any public comment? Okay, this will be Resolution 18-12. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 18-12, amending Chapter 188?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, supervisors, minutes from the supervisors meeting on December 4th. This was a special meeting to talk about zoning and code issues. Any comments, corrections, suggestions?
The minutes has me listed as being present. I was not. I don't know if that's the official record, but I did see the meeting. And excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Pullen.
Okay, anything else?
That's all.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
With the one change, for Mr. Dents. So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right. Engineers report.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. As usual, the first update will be the 2018 road program. All the curb has been installed on Walton Drive. The road has been excavated and repaved. It is under binder, and all access to Eleanor Roosevelt Elementary School has been reestablished, and all residents have access to their driveways. Work continues on Share Drive with storm sewer installation, and that should take another 3 to 4 weeks, and that, of course, is weather dependent. We talked last time about St. Joe's. There are 14 certificates of occupancy issued for townhomes at St. Joe's. I don't know the exact number that are occupied, but 14 could be occupied at any time. And they are starting to work on an apartment building, so they think maybe perhaps some of those apartments will be ready sometime in January.
Okay.
That was your decision to issue them? They were ready?
No, they're issued by the Code Enforcement Department, Mr. Bennett.
But you were satisfied that they...
Yeah, we do the final inspection of the outside,
Yeah.
and the township is responsible for the inside. So we're satisfied with the access to those particular...
That's what I was concerned about, is the access.
We don't require that second road to be, to have a throughway?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
How about the Wawa? Any updates?
Steel is being installed into Wawa, and the actual gas tanks have been installed at this time.
The canopy over the gas pumps is what's been installed so far, the steel?
That steel is going up. I'm not sure if the canopy is, I don't think that's complete, but the steel for the building is being erected.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
What were we hearing, May? Is that what we're hearing?
The target date, I believe, was May 1st.
Okay.
They're obviously hoping to be before that.
You're sure that's the steel for the building and not the canopy?
I saw the steel for the canopy going up.
Yeah.
I got steels being erected, so if it's canopy, I apologize for not knowing exactly what that is.
Okay.
Hey, any other comments or questions?
No.
No.
No? No. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the engineer's report as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, bill list. Bills in the amount of $2,197,000.69. Except for that 169-cent thing, we'd have been right even. That's just, I don't know. For the roughly 1.2 million, of that 1.2 million, about 1.4 million is, which is, about a little over 1.4 million, close to 1.4, is payroll and benefits. And another almost $300,000 is for the road program. So you're looking at roughly 1.6, close to 1.7 of the 2.2 is just those three items: road program, salaries, benefits. There's also a post-retirement health benefit that's paid to retired police officers. That comes out of this this bill list. And also the volunteer incentives for firefighters. Firefighters here in Falls Township are paid an incentive up to $599, I think it is, based on how many calls they make over the course of the year. Each of the three departments reports to the fire marshal for the different members of their companies in terms of how many calls they've made this year, and we provide financial incentives to them to thank them for that. That's a program that's been here in Falls Township for 18, 19 years, something like that. Something like that. So, and it's obviously very successful. So, comments or questions on the bill list?
I have none.
Okay. Is there a motion to pay the bills? $2,197,69.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, we had an executive session before the meeting. Chief? Get the police department report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. I'll attempt to keep this very brief and to the point. I have a very short agenda this evening. First, I want to start off where I left off last month with tips for Christmas. When you go out shopping, don't flash cash, use credit cards. I don't have to tell my wife that because she uses those credit cards very readily. Park your cars as close to where you're shopping as possible. Make sure you lock your cars. If, in fact, you have presents and you're going in and out of stores, make sure you cover them up or put them in the trunk. Don't make your car a target. Make sure that you do these, and these small tips, and especially this last week, running into Christmas time, there'll be a lot of unscrupulous people out there going through the parking lots and all. And if you see anybody, keep your cell phone handy and just hit 911. With that being said, I just want to comment on what Officer Yeager had said. Coffee with a Cop 3 weeks ago was very, very successful. We had over 80 participants. We covered all topics from A to Z, and it was very, very successful. And that, with our community policing program for this year, has been very, very successful in this calendar year. And we continue, and I'm very proud of that program. From all the stuff that Officer Yeager does in the schools, the new STEPS program. Mr. Harvey, myself, and Mr. Boraski attended a STEPS graduation just recently. It was very successful. From the programs that Officer Yeager does on his own to, we just had the Citizens Police Academy. We have the Youth Police Academy. I have the Chief for a Day program. All these programs have been very, very successful, and we'll continue to do them. In fact, we're going to start the Chief for a Day program beginning in January, the first of the year. I just finished talking with Sergeant Ray Finelli. He just made another significant drug bust in the municipality, which has been very successful. I can't give any details right now, but I wanted to put it out there so our community knows that our detectives are doing a bang-up job. And finally, I just want to wish the board, on behalf of all the police officers, all the men and women of our police force, I want to wish everybody on the board, your families, a safe, happy Christmas to the staff and to our entire community. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Same to you.
Very good.
Chief, just one thing real quick. While we're talking about steps, can you just check with Gina and see if she can send us an updated invite list for whatever we have in 2019?
Yes.
Graduations?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Manager comment.
Yes, just a few items tonight, Mr. Chairman. The first item is in regard to an escrow release number 3 for Premium Lift, also known as Calamar. There's a letter dated December 11th from Mr. Sullivan recommending a escrow release in the amount of $263,530.70. The board is asked to consider this release.
Comments or questions?
No.
No.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the escrow release number 3 for premium lift?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Recently, Oxford Valley Elementary School paid $1,000 for an application to the zoning hearing board to obtain a variance for the new sign. The sign was approved by the ZHB at their meeting on December 11th. The school's cost for the advertising and court reporter was $140. The board is asked to consider a refund to the Oxford Valley Elementary Pennsbury Schools in the amount of $860.
Yeah, and I think that was PTO that paid for that sign.
PTO.
And the, and the fee.
Any comments or questions?
No.
Okay, is there a motion then to refund $860 to Oxford Valley Elementary School, or Elementary School PTO, whichever one it is, I guess, for the fees for the zoning board for their new sign?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Following businesses were recently approved for operations in the township during the month of November. They include Magic Arts Studio, located at 81 Big Oak Road, Suite 5. We Buy Any Car, located at 200 Lincoln Highway. Salon Centric, located at 110 Lincoln Highway, Suite 1. Living Wellness, located at 443 Oxford Valley Road. And finally, LKQ Best Automotive, located at 199 Canal Road, Suite 100. And one item from Ms. Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. A couple months ago, the board was able to meet with a representative of Cordisco and Sale regarding a class action lawsuit that has been filed on behalf of several municipalities, or is in the process of being filed, regarding the opioid epidemic. And we have been, the question before the board is whether the township would like to retain the services of Cordisco and Sale to become involved in the class action lawsuit against the opioid manufacturers to recover costs expended by the township in fighting the opioid epidemic. There would be no outlay of funds from the township. The representation would be on a contingent fee basis, so the firm would only be paid if and when an award was made in the township's favor. So the board is of a mind, a motion to that effect could be made this evening.
Okay. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that there's been a serious issue, especially with opioids over the past several years, and Falls Township has seen more than its fair share. Bucks County has seen more than its fair share. But it is a national problem, worse in some areas than others. This lawsuit, which other municipalities have joined in with, would, as Ms. Gallagher said, go after the manufacturers who of opioids, of the opiate medications, who in many cases told their doctors that were interested in prescribing this medication that it would not be addictive, and so the doctors prescribed it, and obviously that led to problems for people, including a member of my family who became addicted after a back injury, and fortunately was successful in fighting off that addiction. Although you never sort of win, he's continuing his fight, and he's been doing very well. As Ms. Gallagher said, this essentially is joining in or retaining the services of Cordisco and Sale. They would be the ones who do the work in terms of just figuring out exactly how much Falls Township has expended fighting this issue, dealing with crimes regarding this issue, whether it's salaries, overtime, court costs, lost time, and all kinds of issues that, and then essentially whatever, hopefully the suit is won, and if it's won, then the law firm gets obviously a part of that money, and we would get what we're determined to, be owed. If the court case is not successful, then the township isn't out any money. And so I know the board members have had some time to talk about this and hear from a representative from Cordisco and Sale, and so any questions or comments for Ms. Gallagher or anybody else?
No.
No.
No, makes sense.
All right. Okay, is there a motion then to retain the services of Cordisco and Sale for the purpose of joining the class action lawsuit against opioid manufacturers?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, board comment, Mr. Rocco.
Excellent job with the budget, as always. And just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you all next year.
Mr. Dents?
Quick one.
Yes. To everyone's surprise, last Thursday, I received a phone call from Mr. Sullivan. And to our surprise, he told me he's retiring. Right?
That is correct.
And tonight's his last meeting. As long as I've been here, probably a lot longer, right? How many years have you been in Falls here?
Almost 15.
15 years. He set the standard very high. We take for granted his engineering skills. He's probably the best municipal engineer in the county, at least. I can't imagine, someone's got some big shoes to fill, obviously. We take for granted his professionalism and his staff and everything else. Surprisingly, next year, 2019, will be my 10th year on this board, which is just crazy. One of the best parts of this job are the friendships, and Jim is definitely a friend. You make a lot of friends doing this, for residents and the professionals, but he will surely be missed. I know I give him a hard time every week, but I have his phone number, so that'll go on. But we wish him well in his retirement. Well, he's not really retiring. He's only retiring from this. He's still going to be doing something, but it just won't be here. And like I said, his replacement's got some big shoes to fill, so good luck to you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you very much.
I also want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Another long night that should have been a short night, but thank you again, Mr. Harvey, running an excellent meeting. And we'll see everyone next year.
Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. Boraski.
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan, just want to echo Mr. Dents. Thank you. When he talks about the friendships, it's been great. Next year will be my 6th year, and we became friends, and it's been great to work with you. And Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you guys for everything tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Galloway.
I echo that. Good luck to you, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
I just want a couple of announcements. I think Mr. Gray's slipping a little bit there on a couple of these things.
Doesn't feel good.
Christmas trees. Okay, for anybody that has live Christmas trees, you're not supposed to throw the artificial ones in this pile. This is for the real. This is for the real Christmas trees. There will be 2 pickups for Christmas trees. One on January 5th, one January 5th, and one January 12th. Okay, they'll be picked up by Waste Management. Those are both Saturdays. Okay, for composting. And also on January 5th, we are having a free electronics recycling event, as many people know. Electronics, TVs, fax machine scanners, VCRs, DVDs, cell phones, those kinds of things you're really not supposed to be throwing away. You continue to see people put out big TVs and expect the trash men to take them, and they're not taking them. They haven't been for years. We are holding this on Saturday. The information's on our website. It's on the cable channel. It's been shared through Facebook and other media. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday at the community park. Bring whatever, and there's a list of things that will be taken, list of things that will not be taken, and this is all free of charge.
And this is open to anyone.
Open to anyone, yeah.
Not just Falls Township
right,
residents.
Yeah, so, and it's actually pretty unique. Usually you have to pay for this. We've tried to do this before, and it was very difficult to find a company that would do it for free, but our staff was successful finally in locating a company that's coming here to do it. So a couple of things coming up. I know Lincoln Highway, just sort of north of where we are right now, has been undergoing a bridge repair. And there was a delay. The one side was done very successfully. The southbound lane was done pretty quickly, and then the northbound lane took forever, it seemed. There were a few reasons for that. The weather got very, very bad, which hampered construction efforts, and there was also a gas main that ran along that side of the road, and that had to be relocated. And so that has been what's taking so long. They're supposed to be done hopefully within the next few days. They said around Christmas, so I think they're coming pretty close to that. But people have been very patient with that, and things have worked pretty smoothly, so that should be opening soon. Our next meeting is going to be January 7th, which is the reorganization meeting. That's a Monday. I also do want to pass on a little bit of a sad note. At our meeting in November, we honored a man named Ed Bunting. Edward Bunting was a 100-year-old World War II veteran who was the Grand Marshal or was supposed to be the Grand Marshal in the Memorial Day Parade this past year. It was rained out, so he never got really a chance to do the Grand Marshal duties. Was notified by his son that he passed away just a few days ago. And so it was certainly, we shared our thoughts and prayers with the Bunting family on the loss of their father, grandfather, great-grandfather. Also, we were very proud of the fact that we were able to sort of honor him, before he passed. So it's one of the things obviously we do a lot of things here sometimes, like first couple of things of this meeting we're really very happy about. And again, our sympathies go out to the family, and our salute to Mr. Bunting on a life well lived. And just really echoing what Mr. Dent said, Mr. Sullivan became engineer of this township in April of 2004. I was on the board about 3.5 months at that point. He took over under very, very difficult circumstances. For those that have long memories, the previous engineer was under investigation for criminal activity. And so really at the drop of a hat, Mr. Sullivan became the engineer. And I want to make sure, not sort of to say over what Mr. Dent said. I mean, I consider Mr. Sullivan a friend, and I certainly wish him all the best, although we are going to miss him very dearly here. But I want to make sure people understand that everything that's happened in this township in terms of land developments, projects, big and small, has a lot to do with the expertise of this man and the staff that he's worked with. This township would not be where it is today without Jim Sullivan. I think it's not unfair to say that. It's not an exaggeration. He knows his job very, very well. He gets along with almost everybody.
Almost.
He gets along with the people he needs to get along with, to put it that way. But it's usually a pretty good sign if Mr. Sullivan says, he's working with somebody who's difficult. You can pretty well guess that it's not Mr. Sullivan who's the problem. It's the other person who's the problem. That's been a pretty good measure for us. Just one statistic, in the time that he has been here, he has been responsible for the reconstruction or resurfacing of 40% of the township roads, over 33 miles of roadway. That's just one thing that he has been responsible for doing: the surveying, the bid specs, choosing the companies based on doing research on them and their bidding process, and if they've met the requirements they're supposed to meet. Supervising everything they did, meeting with the contractors, dealing with the public, dealing with supervisors, some of whom are a little louder than others. He definitely will, this township owes a debt of gratitude to Mr. Sullivan and all the work that he's done. He definitely will be missed. We wish him the best. Certainly, it's going to be a little awkward seeing somebody else at the end of that table for a while. With that, I will wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.